All right, let's just jump right in. At the very heart of the internet, there's a library. But it's a library so vast, it's trying to preserve every single book ever written. Now, as you can imagine, that kind of ambition has put it right at the center of a global firestorm. We're talking big tech, publishers, and governments all pitted against a mysterious group of archivists. This is the story of Anna's archive.
And it all kind of blows up with this one line from an internal meta email that sent absolute shockwaves through the tech industry. This quote, which came out in a lawsuit, reveals how one of the biggest, most powerful companies on the planet turned to this very controversial library to fuel its own ambitions.
You see, Anna's archive isn't just some dusty digital bookshelf. It's become a critical, if, totally secret, resource in the global AI arms race.
Get a load of this number, 81 terabytes. That is the staggering amount of data that Meta downloaded from Anna's archive using torrents. Court documents show that this massive trove of copyrighted material was fed directly into its large language models, basically to teach their AI.
And surprise, surprise, they are not alone. By early 2025, Anna's archive was giving high-speed data access to about 30 other companies, mostly in China, by the way, all of them using this library to train their own AI. So where in the world did this powerful and obviously controversial resource even come from?
Well, the story of Anna's archive is really one of digital rebellion. And it was born from a problem that I'm pretty sure we've all run into.
You know that feeling, right? That frustration. You're a student, a researcher, or you're just curious about something and bam, you're locked out. It is infuriating, especially when you find out that over 70% of all academic papers are trapped behind these super expensive paywalls. And that is the problem Anna's archive set out to solve.
The timing here is, well, it's no coincidence. Just a few days after U.S. law enforcement took down Z Library, which was one of the biggest shadow libraries in the world, Anna's archive just appeared. It literally rose like a phoenix from the digital ashes, built on the backups of the very site that had just been shut down. What's really wild is just the sheer ambition of it all. The goal isn't just to, share some files. It's to create a universal library for all of humanity. It's totally driven by these ideals of information freedom, inspired by activists like the late Aaron Swartz.
So, how does a platform this audacious actually work? And, maybe more importantly, how has it managed to survive for this long? The answer, it turns out, is in its very clever design.
First, let's just get the term right. Anna's archive is what's known as a shadow library. Basically, it's an online database for stuff that's otherwise locked away. Think of it like a digital underground public library, but for everything.
Okay, so this is the crucial part. Anna's archive doesn't actually host any of the copyrighted files, not a single one. It's a meta search engine. It just scrapes results from other shadow libraries, it indexes the metadata, the title, the author, and then it just points you to where you can actually find the file. This little distinction is the absolute core of its legal defense.
And this really shows you the difference, right? Sites like Library Genesis or Sci-Hub, they host the files directly on their servers. Anna's archive just acts as a central catalog, a card catalog for all the other shadow libraries. It also really stands out because it's completely open source.
And the scale of that catalog is just immense. As of 2025, we're talking over 52 million books and nearly 100 million academic papers. That makes it, by far, the most comprehensive database of its kind anywhere.
All in all, the project is trying to preserve over 1.1 petabytes of data. That's more than 1,000 terabytes of human knowledge. But, as you can probably guess, an operation this big doesn't exactly fly under the radar.
Which brings us to the next chapter, this escalating global conflict. It's the archive versus this powerful coalition of publishers and governments who see this project as nothing more than mass-scale industrial piracy.
The whole fight has become this relentless, high-stakes cat-and-mouse game. Publishers and governments use every legal tool they have to try and shut it down. Meanwhile, the anonymous people running the archive are constantly adapting, switching domains, changing infrastructure, just doing whatever it takes to stay one step ahead.
And this battle is being fought all over the world. Court orders have forced internet providers to block access in a growing list of countries. We're talking Italy, the Netherlands, the UK, Belgium, and you can bet more are on the way. The legal attacks are literally coming from all sides. It's been put on the US government's Notorious Markets list, it's being sued by the world's largest library catalog for scraping data, and publishers are sending subpoenas to tech companies like Cloudflare, trying desperately to unmask the people behind the curtain. But what's really fascinating here is that the archive's greatest threat isn't the FBI, it's not lawsuits from publishers, no. It's something much more fundamental, and it's tied directly to its core mission.
The whole project is built on this idea of permanent preservation, right? To create a library that can never be destroyed. But the reality is, this digital Library of Alexandria is shockingly fragile, and it's all because of a very human problem.
Just look at this. This shows the health of the torrents that hold all that preserved knowledge. Now, a seeder is someone who's sharing a complete copy of a file. An absolutely astonishing 54% of the entire archive, that's over half of all this preserved human knowledge, is being shared by fewer than 4 people. Let that sink in. If those few laptops go offline, the data is just gone.
So why don't more people pitch in and help? Well, this is what's called the seeder's dilemma. On one hand, yeah, you're helping to preserve knowledge for the entire world. But on the other hand, you're looking at enormous costs for storage and bandwidth, not to mention the very real legal risk of being prosecuted for copyright infringement. It's a tough spot to be in.
And that really leaves us with this final massive question. Because the battle over Anna's archive, it isn't just about piracy. It's about the future of information itself. So, is a universal library inevitable? Will technology and this determined community make it happen? Or will the gatekeepers of knowledge figure out a way to keep the